Teofimo Lopez scrapes a 10-round split decision win over Sandor Martin this past weekend at MSG in NYC. Now, I have to be honest, people. For me, this was a terribly boring fight. Sandor Martin is a good mover, a good boxer. He's very effective, but he's not very entertaining, to say the least. And this was a typical example of it. Same situation when he fought Mikey Garcia. In the first round, Teofimo Lopez is looking to get in there and land his big shots. Sandor Martin is on the outside. There was a clash of heads. Martin got a cut on the bridge of the nose. It was bleeding quite badly. Second round, Lopez gets caught reaching in off balance with a shot, and Sandor Martin catches him with a check right hook, and Teofimo Lopez goes down. Wasn't hurt at all. There was some confusion with the commentators. I'm not sure if they were Top Rank or ESPN commentators, but they seemed confused about whether it was a knockdown. I mean, there was no confusion at all for me. The slow-mo revealed that it was clearly a knockdown. There was no tangled feet. Nobody stepped on each other's foot. It was just a simple case of Lopez reaching in and getting clipped with a shot on the side of the head. And he goes down. Again, it's a balance thing more than anything else. But if a shot hits you while you're off balance and you go down, then you have to count it. Anyway, Lopez gets up, the fight goes on, and it goes into this matador and bull routine for the rest of the contest. Now, if you look at the CompuBox numbers, and no, we do not score fights based on CompuBox, but they give you a rough idea of what's going on. So overall, Martin landed less punches, I think, than Teofimo Lopez. Look at the first round, as Martin landed 3. Second round to Lopez's 7. So let me just call out the rounds where Lopez outlands Martin according to CompuBox. The first, the second, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, even in the 7th, the 8th, the 10th, and the 11th. So again, according to CompuBox, Lopez outlanded Martin in most of the rounds. Now, one of the reasons why we don't score fights, professional fights, based on CompuBox is because CompuBox doesn't tell the story of how good the punches were in terms of punch quality. So professional boxing judges are told to look for clean, effective punches. CompuBox doesn't tell you whether the punches were clean and effective. They just tell you how many. And even then, it's not anywhere close to being 100% accurate. It's just 3 guys sat ringside pushing buttons at the end of the day. But it gives you a rough guide in terms of what happened in the fight most of the time. And again, according to CompuBox, Teofimo Lopez outlanded Martin in most of the rounds. So for me, and this is not based on CompuBox, this is just backing up what I'm going to say anyway. For me, I don't have an issue with Teofimo Lopez getting the decision in this fight. I've seen some people say it was a robbery and this and that about Martin. I didn't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a close fight. I wouldn't have complained if Martin had got the nod. I'm also not complaining that Teofimo Lopez has got the nod in this instance. And yes, as I've spoken about in recent videos, there does seem to be a trend towards close decisions going to the house fighter more often than not. And that, of course, isn't a good thing. You'd want to see it divided up 50-50 to make sure that things are fair. And of course, we did see a close decision going against the house fighter with Josh Warrington losing his featherweight title recently. But in most instances, it tends to go to the house fighter, and did here with Teofimo Lopez. However, there's long been, I mean, I guess you could call it a bias with judging, particularly in America. As I understand it, it's more prevalent in certain states than others. But it's this bias whereby judges tend to favor aggression over movement. Now, obviously, if the guy who's moving a lot is landing more clean, effective punches, significantly more clean, effective punches than the guy who's being the aggressor, then the rounds have to go to the guy who's moving, regardless of what the judge is like. But when you've got a fight where both guys are landing a similar amount of shots, and this wasn't a particularly high-scoring fight, people, in terms of, clean power shots landed by either man. When you got both guys landing a similar amount, then I can understand why the aggressor is given the benefit of the doubt in perhaps the majority of the rounds. Because boxing at the end of the day is a form of entertainment. The fans want to be entertained. So there should be an incentive for the fighters to entertain the crowd. See, so I'm all for that. But again, it has to be in a situation where there's a similar amount of punches landed by both guys. See, if the mover is outlanding the stalker significantly, then the mover has to get those rounds. So after the fight, Teofimo Lopez and Sandor Martin get into this little back and forth in the post-fight interview in the ring. It was all handbags. Quite funny, really. Teofimo Lopez has actually questioned whether he still has it after this close split decision win over Sandor Martin. And one of his rivals, Devin Haney, says Kambosos ruined Teo and he will never be the same again. I mean, that remains to be seen. But as far as Teo saying, asking the question, do I still have it? Do I still got it? I think he's still got it. He's maybe looking at the Lomachenko fight and perhaps he got carried away with the result that night. And he's thinking, if I can beat someone like Lomachenko, then surely I should be able to beat someone like Sandor Martin more convincingly. Isn't Lomachenko a much better, more accomplished southpaw than Martin? Oh yeah, but Lomachenko was a much smaller guy. Shorter arms, shorter in stature, older, more miles on the clock. Sandor Martin, because of his height and reach and all that kind of thing, he's more awkward to get to. So where Teo could keep Lomachenko on the end of his jab, he wasn't able to do that with Sandor Martin because Martin's arms were too long and he was too good a mover on the back foot. So I think it's just a case of styles make fights. I don't think Teo should be overly harsh on himself because, again, Sandor Martin is probably going to do this to a lot of people. He's an awkward guy to fight. And, moving forward, I think that if they're looking to fight the best, the Devin Haneys of the world, if Haney moves up to 140 and the Ryan Garcias and the Tank Davises, I think he can still mix it with those guys for sure. But Lopez and his dad have this mentality which seems to be, if someone isn't a well-known, established marquee fighter, or isn't someone they know, or someone from a ghetto somewhere in America, they seem to assume that the person can't fight. That's the way it appeared to be when Teofimo Lopez fought George Kambosos, because he's from Australia, he's not from the US, they'd never really heard of him before. They're thinking this guy can't fight. And so in the corner, Teo's dad did one of the worst jobs I've ever seen. I mean, he was basically telling him to go out there every round and just knock him out. And he was getting angry, knock this guy out. They thought it was going to be a walk in the park. And after the fight, I mean, good God. Teo's dad was saying that it was a robbery and they won the fight 10 rounds to 2 or some crazy nonsense like that. So they're a bit away with the fairies, Teo and his dad. And by the way, his dad is not a bad trainer. A tree is known by its fruits. Okay, when I say he's not a bad trainer, I'm talking about from a technical perspective. A tree is known by its fruits. And if you look at Teofimo Lopez and his technique, the way he moves, the way he throws his shots, he's clearly very well schooled. So you have to give his dad credit for that. But when it comes to the mental side of things, there's something missing with Teo and his dad. Yeah, they've underestimated at least one guy with George Kambosos. And unless they understand where they went wrong from a psychological perspective, then maybe Teo doesn't still have it, He has to respect his opponents. Yeah, of course, you go in there believing you're better, wanting to beat them. But you don't make assumptions. Just because somebody's from some country where they don't normally produce a lot of top fighters, it doesn't mean he can't fight. Yeah? You can't make those assumptions. As the fighter yourself, you have to prepare for everybody as if they're a serious individual, And so I guess it's just more professionalism that's required from Teofimo Lopez and his dad. And if they can just up their game in terms of professionalism and expecting every fight to be tough, I think he'll be back on track before long. obviously Teo is no Mayweather. You know, he's not a guy that's going to be able to just go in there and dominate a lot of people at 140 pounds. Dominate the division. Not that Mayweather dominated necessarily, didn't stay at 140 pounds for a long time, but you know what I mean. He's not going to be able to go in there and have every fight be easy. He's going to have to tough it out in a lot of these fights and scrape decisions and stuff like that. And if he trains with that kind of mindset of understanding it's going to be tough, you train hard, fight easy, rather than expecting to blow people out. You see it. If he does that and gets more realistic, I think he can still mix it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Teo's performance against Sandor Martin. Did you think he deserved to win? Or did you think Sandor Martin deserved to win? And also, let me know what you think about his comments and also Devin Haney's comments regarding Teofimo Lopez and where he's at right now. Did George Kambosos really ruin him? Will he never be the same again? Has Teofimo Lopez still got it? Did he ever have it? What exactly is it that he's talking about? Maybe in his head, he thought he was going to be this guy that was going to dominate everyone. But beating Lomachenko alone, that doesn't prove you're going to be that kind of guy. I'm not saying that he is some one-hit wonder, right? To compare him to a one-hit wonder. Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. He didn't go on to dominate the division. Leon Spinks beat Muhammad Ali. He didn't go on to dominate the division, right? Even Michael Spinks beat Larry Holmes. He didn't go on to dominate the division. I'm talking about heavyweights here, but still. Yeah, you can have certain fighters who are one-hit wonders, but you can have other fighters who are better than that. And I do think Teo is better than a one-hit wonder. But yeah, he's not going to be someone that's going to dominate. He can come to terms with where he always was. I think it will be good for him. And build from there on, Obviously, you don't want to settle and think that, okay, I can never get above a certain level. But you just have to be realistic about the challenges ahead of you and see them as tough challenges rather than seeing them as easy nights. Anyway, repeating myself here, let me know what you guys think in the comments below.
If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high-quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and is 100% censorship-free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.